On today's show, Hammer Bros rise up, the Cap Gods come bearing buffs. There's a new Monster Hunter mobile game on the horizon, and finally, a new challenger approaches in Wild's newest collaboration. So don't forget your hot drinks as we ready up for this episode of the Palibros. What's up, everybody, and welcome to episode 13 of the Palibros, a podcast where a group of friends get together to talk about anything and everything Monster Hunter. Of course, I'm one of your hosts, and the first to cart, Patrick Jovez. Alongside me, we have the Mixset Maniac, Brian.
Good to see you guys.
The Hunting Horn Elitist, Max.
Hello, everyone.
And so tasty, Ryan.
Howdy.
How's it going, guys? I know it's hot as balls in here, so we'll try to get through this one. I know we forgot our cold drink, so it's pretty rough out here.
Yeah, we're sweating.
Yeah,
I'm fine.
Yeah,
you suck, dude.
Living next to the water.
I mean,
everyone's texting in before the show, like, man, it's so hot. And I'm just like being inconsiderate, texting them like, yeah, it's like 60 degrees where I am. So what are you guys complaining about?
That's
nice.
weak.
Yeah,
how's you guys' week been? Any updates on anything fun you guys been playing or watching? Maybe a little Monster Hunter stuff going on?
Me and Max got to participate in the saving of Super Earth. That was pretty fun.
Awesome. That Helldivers
yeah.
2.
Yeah, that was excellent. And then a little camping trip over Memorial Day weekend. So happy to be sleeping in a real bed and doing my business in a real toilet. So
Oh yeah,
I'm a civilized man again.
That's good to hear, man. no more banana leaves.
Yeah.
And then Max and I had a nice weekend as well. We went to the Fan May convention in the San Jose area, and we did see at least one Monster Hunter cosplay. Is that right, Max? Someone wearing the Hope armor set with the hammer.
That's true. Not Alma.
Yeah. No Almas. no.
Look,
I'm sure there was
episode's gonna be plenty Alma-centric. You don't need to jump the gun.
I'm looking at it and go, like, are you dressed as Alma? I'm just a girl in glasses, sir. And this is Wendy's.
You just want to see her.
This is a Wendy's, goddammit.
I would be willing to bet that there was a Monster Hunter cosplay meetup time that on the calendar somewhere. I don't think we were looking for it.
We didn't see.
You guys didn't ready up. You didn't hear the horn.
Nope.
We didn't hop on our little birds and fly away.
Nice.
What else?
What are those called? You just raised a great question.
They're just like some sort of pterodactyl or something.
Aren't they wing drakes?
Wing drakes?
Yeah.
Wing drakes. Okay.
This is wing drakes that you like enslaved, right?
Oh, well, I mean, kind of like the. Oh
like
my
the
god, the chocobos. Why am I'm sacreds? Oh my god, I'm like totally blanking tonight. Maybe I shouldn't record tonight, guys. I'm gonna go. I'm not ready for it.
I gotta go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a pretty good weekend too. What did I do? Oh, touched some grass. Went outside, got a little vitamin D. Took the kids swimming and stuff.
Right?
Oh yeah, I forgot we hung out too.
Yeah, we got vitamin D together.
Yeah, we hung out. Just a little pool thing going on. Had teaching my daughter to swim and stuff like that. So it was fun. Yeah, definitely need to get out there more. It's beautiful outside. Minus like the scorching heat.
Former pool guard.
Oh yeah, lifeguard. Could you believe I almost drowned a kid?
No.
It was his birthday too. It was Artemis's cousin's birthday. I just threw him in the pool, and he was like, "Wait!" I was like, what? And he was like, I can't swim. I was like, you can talk. You're not drowning. Like, you're fine. And then, like, the host of the party jumped in with all his clothes on. Made a big whoop. I mean, whatever.
Big deal out of it.
You're like, look, I'm a former lifeguard. I've seen people.
Well, yeah, I can tell when you're not breathing. Like, you're fine.
I've seen people go down, so to speak.
But enough about that. Before we get into today's show, let's go ahead and take a look at the event quest schedule for May 27th to June 3rd. Jesus Christ, it's so hot in here, my tongue is melting. You get 2 event quests. The first is King of a Faraway Sky, where you'll hunt the Tempered Guardian Rathalos in the ruins of Wyveria, where you can obtain Arshan materials to forge Arshan weapons. You must be HR 31 plus to participate. Yes, this has been up there before, but just remember you have until June 3rd to complete it. And lastly, you get another quest, Running Wild, where you will hunt the Guardian Fulgur Anjanath to obtain the Sealed Dragon Cloth Alpha headgear. This quest, you must be HR 21 plus to participate. And moving on to housekeeping, unfortunately, there will be no Monster Hunter Mastery for today's show, which is our famous Monster Hunter themed trivia show. There's just a bunch of news and stories I'd like to focus on for today's show. So for those of you guys who came for trivia, my apologies. We should be back up and running with that segment for the next episode and so on and so forth. So thank you guys so much for your patience. And because it, again, is hot as Hades in here, we need to get out of here because I'm literally melting in my seat. So... but of course, let me remind you that this is the Palibros podcast, where each and every episode we try to keep you up to date on the latest Monster Hunter news, play Monster Hunter trivia, I gotta cut that out, and in general talk about one of our favorite franchises. So don't forget, you can get each and every episode on youtube.com/@thepalibros, Spotify, and a variety of other podcast services for your listening pleasure. And if you like what we do, please consider liking, subscribing, sharing this episode with friends, and hitting that bell icon to help support us and to know when each of the latest episodes are posted. With all that out the way, let's begin our show with the latest in Monster Hunter news. Today in Monster Hunter news, we have 4 stories. Our first story, Monster Hunter Outlanders requires devs to clock 500 plus hours in Monster Hunter World. This is from MonsterHunterHQ.com and is written by Siddhartha F. Rasidi. Some say gaming is just something someone does for fun. Others believe it's a way to kill off time. But for a lucky few, it might just be a serious job qualification. Tencent's latest recruitment post proves that those hundreds of hours of grinding Monster Hunter materials may have finally paid off. According to a social media post, the company is hiring only hardcore hunters as Monster Hunter Outlander devs. On the Reddit/Monster Hunter subreddit, r/Monster Hunter subreddit, excuse me, user Livian shared a screenshot of a job listing for the Monster Hunter mobile spin-off posted on Chinese social media. As claimed by the poster, anyone who wants to join as a combat planner must fulfill a surprising requirement. Applicants must have played Monster Hunter World for at least 500 hours and logged over 800 hours across the entire series. Naturally, the internet erupted, with a longtime fan celebrating a job requirement that only veteran hunters could realistically fulfill. Of course, that's not the only ability that's an aspiring combat planner must have. Here's the complete job requirements for the Monster Hunter Outlanders devs, translated using Google Translate and other tools. I'm just going to read a couple of the ones that stood out to me. For the full list, go on over to monsterhunterhq.com and give them the click. 1, must have over 500 hours of playtime in Monster Hunter World and over 800 total across the Monster Hunter series. 2, bachelor's degree or above with 2+ years of planning experience in action games. 3, strong teamwork, ability to iterate quickly, good under pressure, and possesses good work habits. And 4, experience completing full cycle development of action projects, preferably those responsible for core combat modules. Some players welcome the requirement, seeing it as a promising sign for the game's design. If the people crafting the combat system actually understand and enjoy Monster Hunter, there's a better chance they'll preserve what fans love. Still, Others, like user Escape Velocity Koala, expressed concern. Turning hardcore players into developers could lead to a less welcoming experience for newcomers. For example, veterans may tolerate or even enjoy obtuse and grind-heavy systems that turn off new players, especially when the devs should realize they're making Monster Hunter Outlanders as a free-to-play mobile game. No doubt that the new gameplay mechanics should make people still unfamiliar with the series feel welcomed. Whether this bold hiring strategy results in a spin-off that captures the heart of the series remains to be seen, as Tencent Games and its subsidiary Timmy Studio has yet to announce a release date. If nothing else, Monster Hunter Outlanders team will be comprised of veteran hunters. Just pray they don't balance the game around people who think Furious Rajang and Fatalis are easy. Yeah. First off, did anyone know about this game?
Nope.
I'm like, wait, is Monster Hunter now? No.
Yeah, I must have missed this announcement. Yeah, this is the first time I
sounds
heard
like
of it.
it sounds like they haven't. Well, if they're hiring people to make the game, it's not surprising we haven't heard of it at all. Like it's not even in development yet.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, what do you guys think? Here we go again, back with the I guess veteran versus newcomer debate. Not to try to beat a dead Gammoth, but
Sure.
yeah, what do you guys?
It's a little bit of a fool's errand to think that we know better than Tencent on how to make a good mobile game.
Mhm.
You know, I'll say that out the gate. But I do appreciate that the fact that they're seem to be wanting to, incorporate as much of hardcore people's feedback into the game as possible. Not to jump ahead of us a little bit, but one of the articles that we're going to be talking about shortly is kind of talking about this a little bit, right? Like, how do you make something, you file down something fun to make it more accessible? So I don't know. I think that, like, to your point, experienced players can bring a lot of soul from the previous games into a new game, but yeah, you don't want to overtune it so that, have to be super sweaty on a mobile game. That doesn't sound fun even for us, I think.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Really quick before anyone else interjects, if you head down onto monsterhunteroutlanders.com, you can go ahead and sign up to be one of the first for testing the game out. Also, a survey will be held to increase your chances to be picked for that testing group. I went ahead and did the survey yesterday and looked up the website, and it's pretty much, they have like a trailer. We'll go ahead and throw it up on the screen right now. Yeah,
wow. They have a trailer for a game that's in development. That's kind of crazy.
I mean,
we don't even know. Yeah, we're doing a freaking podcast about this game. We didn't even know about it.
Yeah, I mean, it looks interesting. We don't know if it's actual gameplay or just like a pre-rendered CGI trailer or stuff like that. It looks like it tries to fake you out into going into both, but it probably is. If they haven't done the combat system yet, pretty sure there's no actual gameplay in the trailer.
Probably,
but yeah, go ahead.
Proof of concept.
Yeah. But yeah, go ahead and check out the monsterhunteroutlanders.com. Go ahead and sign up if you want to be on the list for testing this game out and do that survey to up your chances. But yeah, Brian, I think you were going to say something.
Yeah, it's interesting to see, of course, the requirements for the position. I do think, one big takeaway here is just understanding that this is their core combat, lead or someone related to the actual combat aspect of the game.
Mm-hmm.
And just because they're requiring this 500-hour, Monster Hunter World and 800-hour total, like, this isn't going to be for everyone working on the game, right? So we don't necessarily going to say, oh, they're going to miss out on potential talent just because they haven't played this game. It's just some of the most important roles related to understanding the series will, of course, require hopefully that type of knowledge and experience. So yeah, for a combat planner, I think that's pretty smart. They're going to have a pretty good feel for how the game is meant to be played. And that makes me feel a little more hopeful that whatever this mobile game is going to be might actually have some gameplay that's enjoyable and fun. Not to say Monster Hunter Now isn't fun. It'd be cool to see a more fully fleshed out kind of mobile combat system. It'd be nice.
I'm pretty curious. I wish I knew more about the subject, but I mean, there's another Monster Hunter game by Tencent with the same acronym, Monster Hunter Online, that shut down in like, I think was it in 2023 or 2019 was it? And it's something in the last few years that, you know, also developed by Tencent. I'm not sure exactly what the issues were with the game that caused it to shut down or why it didn't get traction. I wonder if this is them like learning from that in some way, or whether they're trying to bring people in that are really familiar. I mean, I also think it's interesting to think about, like, I guess 500 hours is a lot, but I mean, that doesn't necessarily indicate that somebody is an incredibly hardcore or veteran player. Like,
Right.
and I mean, we don't exactly know what metrics they're looking for in a player outside of playtime. Like, that person could have been playing with Pooji for 500 hours, for all we know. I mean, you never know. People play these games very differently.
Yep. I mean, yeah, I didn't even kind of think about that. It is interesting that it's a 500-hour cap, or like, you know, threshold to get through, and then 800-hour plus for the entire series. One, how do you, like, do you have to bring your consoles and stuff to show
say,
them? Like,
yeah.
How do you test that?
Is
How do
that
you prove it?
Yeah, is that the interview? And then two, like, I don't know, like, I feel like bringing Joe Schmo off the streets who has never designed a game in their life could be an interesting, you know.
I mean, they're pretty clearly not doing that, like, because like this is more like an asterisk, because it's like they want people that have some number of years of playing action games, and they want like they basically want game devs that have a lot of experience with Monster Hunter. They're not looking for, like, you know, you're not sitting in your parents' basement playing Monster Hunter like, don't worry, Ma, I'm getting my job application.
I mean, that's like, literally what's in the article. They literally have like, hey, finally, Mom, I could do this. So like, that's kind of why it's stuck in my head of like, can like anyone do this, or is it specifically game devs this time?
It's a little bit of a bait and switch, because they're specifically saying they want people with like years of playing experience for action games. So it's like, they definitely want people who are familiar with the Monster Hunter formula, and like, especially since they're targeting 500 hours in world specifically, it means that like that's the experience that they're targeting. Like, it's not just like, you know, Freedom Unite or the old heads. Like, they really want world. Like, that's, I guess, that was sort of where it blew up. So that's sort of what the framework that they're trying to build off. I think
that just means that like you have played the most recent up-to-date open world version of the game, and it's not possible to like have played. Well, I guess it's possible to have played 500 hours in Wilds, but I don't know if it's. I think you might be reading a little bit too much into that. But I will. The point that I wanted to make was that, like, I think that, you know, if you're a game developer, you probably like video games. You're probably playing video games in your free time. Like that, it's party. You know, it's one of those jobs where it's like, you know, it's it's like you're kind of getting paid for your passion type industry, so to speak. Like, only recently have video games become like multi-billion-dollar franchises or whatever. So, you know, if you're a video game nerd growing up and you become a game developer, like, that was a decision you made decades ago to kind of get into that field. So I would say that, like, it's not that outlandish or outrageous to have someone, you know, to like require them to have all this dev experience, but also like want them to specifically have experience with a game that they'll be in charge of. Like Brian said, you know, like they're not hiring like an intern. Like, the intern doesn't have to have, you know, 400 hours in the game to be hired. Like, this is like a, you know, a key role.
Yeah, I will say, you know, kind of a counterpoint too is that there's going to still be that subset of people that don't like to mix their passion with their work. And I know there's going to be a lot of people that are like, maybe they get into building games and doing things, but they don't really play a lot of games because they can't really see it as anything but work, and vice versa. So I would be very curious to see what that subset is for game developers.
I just think that if you're applying, like if Monster Hunter is like a huge IP, so I think you can be picky here. Like, if you have this requirement for something more specific or more esoteric, then, you know, that's a little bit foolish. like make sure that like someone's played like a weird offshoot game for hundreds of hours, and like that's the only people you're going to consider.
I mean,
or that's at least who you're like trying to cherry pick.
Just reading
like,
straight.
Monster Hunter's big.
Just reading straight from the article, it doesn't technically say devs. It just says applicants. So it literally could be anyone that meets those requirements. They may take a look at for an interview, and then they will become a dev for that Monster Hunter Outlanders. That being said, I think to Brian's point, they aren't going to be messing with the entire like ecosystem of how things work, from like item rarity and like farming and stuff like that. They were literally just, how does the combat feel in this game, because that's what we're going to be doing primarily in this game. So maybe like, you know, like as a QA tester or as a consultant or something like that, like we need to make sure that our gameplay is 100% proof. And like kind of thinking about it that way, like this doesn't seem as egregious as I thought it was prior to be like, oh, just anyone off the street can like come and apply, you know, just like, so like it's,
we're not qualified. None of us are qualified. None of us have dev experience.
Don't you dare take it
I
from
mean,
me.
yeah, we're clearly we're just four guys who just love Monster Hunter, and you know, just try our best to kind of formulate thoughts on what we're reading. But it's gonna be definitely interesting to see what pans out with this game. I'm gonna be looking forward to it. Hopefully I get something in my email whenever the testing comes out, because I would love to test the game. And you know, official thoughts when I first heard the news of this coming out, I'm really excited that it seems like it's gonna be leaning more towards a traditional Monster Hunter experience that I can take anywhere. Like, as busy as I am nowadays with kids, dropping kids off to school, like activities, commuting from work and stuff like that, like I'd say the majority of my gaming time is now on my phone. I would say like I get a lot more mobile time, and so I've been playing a whole bunch of old stuff on my phone, allegedly, from the GameCube era, allegedly. Yeah, if you say allegedly, you don't go to jail. So yeah, like it would be great.
Do you have like a hacked? Do you have some like ROMs going on? What
Allegedly, yeah, allegedly.
Allegedly, you were playing some. All right, okay, I'm with you.
So yeah,
those lawyers.
I didn't mean to put you on blast. I just was very confused.
I know, Ryan. What's going on?
Yeah. So like, yeah, it's great to hear that I'll get more of a like traditional Monster Hunter experience. And not to say that Monster Hunter now isn't great, but there are some things with the combat that I'm not too pleased with. Of course, like any kind of like touch interface for like parries or last minute dodges and stuff like that just isn't like as one-to-one as I would like it to be. So doing stuff like that on now isn't the greatest. So I'd hopefully some implementation with like backbone like controllers or something like that. It would be great to see. But another thought I had was how is this going to affect Monster Hunter now, like either positively or negatively, because it's just going to be another competing Monster Hunter title. And when, I don't know, Hunter A looks at like, hey, I have like free space on my phone, like am I going to go for now or am I going to go for Outlanders? Like what's the better option, you know? So yeah, I wonder if we're going to see a lot of Monster Hunter Now people drop off and transfer over to Outlanders once that comes out, or who knows, like maybe Outlanders shits the bed and then we get more Now players or something like that. So it'd be interesting to see the dynamic between the two when Outlanders finally drops. But moving on to our second story, rejoice, Hammer users! Monster Hunter Wild's new patch just buffed the Bonk Squad, alongside a huge quality of life feature with for hoarders and optimization improvements on PC. This article comes from PC Gamer and is written by Harvey Randall. Monster Hunter Wild's Hammer, despite being just as deliciously violent as previous incarnations, came out a little undercooked. It came in at an A in our Monster Hunter Wild's weapon tier list, sure, but longtime Hammer Bros found it somewhat unwieldy. For example, its offset attack is inexplicably gated behind the third attack in their combo. Even then, I hear it's downright hard to follow up once you land it. Well, all that's about to change. Alongside the Street Fighter collab, the new patch has some major balance adjustments, and Hammer users are downright being taken out to dinner and courted. Here's the full list of changes from the patch notes. The overall power of attacks has been increased. Element scaling for charge shot and overhead smash has been increased. You can now evade while readying an upswing attack. The responsiveness of actions performed while charging has been improved, and sliding has been made easier to perform. Enlarged the hitbox for upswing and sneak attacks. The cancel timing for focus blow earthquake is now slightly earlier, and fixed an issue where selecting an item from the custom radial menu would not automatically use the item after sheathing your weapon. Wow, that sucks. What's more, as per the director's letter, the Hammer will be getting even more improvements when the next title update comes around. Quote, the Hammers plan to receive various improvements in Title Update 2 in addition to the adjustments made in this update, including the addition of offset attacks for certain attacks and the addition of a follow-up attack upon a successful offset, end quote. The Hammer isn't the only weapon that's gotten some TLC though. Hunting Horn, Max, and Gunlance received some straight buffs too. Meanwhile, both bowguns have had some tweaks, typically positive across the board, but both light and heavy bowguns have had their elemental ammo count and elemental ammo damage decreased, with other ammo types being improved. Lastly, us PC users may well be seeing a light at the end of the tunnel to performance woes. The patch notes promise that the game's VRAM usage has been optimized. The patch notes promise that the VRAM usage has been optimized. Hurrah! All excellent news for a game that just seems to be getting better with each update. And by better, I mean more likely to push me into a locker and take all my lunch zenny. Just the way I like it. For the full list of patch notes, head on over to Capcom's official Monster Hunter Wilds website. Max, is this going to make you go back to the Hammer?
I'm certainly going to give it a try. And real quick, I just want to say that I think for the bowguns, it's not that the ammo count has been reduced. It's like the hits per shot on elemental ammo has been reduced.
You got to take that up with Harvey Randall, man. I just write stuff. But yeah, so what you're saying that the shot... Sorry, say that one more time.
So it's kind of like the elemental ammo is kind of like pierce ammo where it hits multiple times. So the number of ammunition, your capacity is unchanged, but each shot can now hit a maximum number, like can now hit less times maximum. Like, so you get less maximum hits per shot as it travels through the monster. So the damage has basically been decreased. Right. On top of them telling you that it's been decreased. So
with other ammo types being
I don't know
improved.
what kind of state elemental bowgun's going to be in right now. I think it's got its kneecaps broken, probably.
I'll be able to chime in on that soon. So I was able to play with that.
Yeah. I mean this is great for Hammer users because, you know, I've never seen a Hammer user this entire time online. Not a single one. So I'm glad that the Hammer mains are finally getting buffs because, you know, like it sucks that you main a weapon for your entire series of playing Monster Hunter and now like you're like, man, like we're noticeably the weakest ones. Not weakest, but like we have crazy shit like having an offset attack that's locked behind the third attack of an animation. Like, so now you have to do extra timing, and if you're a Hammer main, it's already cumbersome to like fight monsters that are moving fast and being agile and stuff like that. Like I can't imagine like as a casual Monster Hunter fan to play a Hammer and try to like get your offset attack on like a Mizitsune or something, you know, something quicker. So that's great that they're getting their own offset fixes and stuff like that.
I will say that I feel like Hammer had kind of an identity crisis, like you mentioned, because something like Greatsword has gotten like all the tools, where a Greatsword traditionally used to be like a very static weapon where, you know, you do your unsheath charge attack and you sheath it and you were pretty much locked in place while you're doing your triple charge, and like it fit with the monsters and sort of the gameplay at the time. And Hammer belongs sort of in that same class of weapon where, you know, you're kind of like you're totally immobile and it requires a lot of like foresight and planning as to like where's the enemy's head gonna be in 6 seconds when I get this upswing off? And Greatsword has like transitioned very well into Wilds and sort of the current meta playstyle, where it has like the offset attack is very easy to access. Like Hammer, the offset is on like once you do like the spinning hammer attack, and then it's the upset is on the upswing blow.
Yeah, that's
like it's very difficult to plan around and use effectively, and depending on what monster you're fighting, like the follow-up attack just doesn't hit.
Yeah,
it's really inconsistent, and the damage isn't even good. It's just not worth using. They really needed to do a lot to it, and so I'm glad that it's not just number changes. They're going in and they're acknowledging that they need to add more to the weapon, like more offset, a different offset, and different follow-ups from the offset. Like I think it really kind of needed it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's like I said, it's really great to see that they're taking looks at, you know, like the amount of users that are using Hammer, and like seeing.
I say buff the Greatsword. You know, it's just
give it counters,
make it bonk
like
more,
like a long sword.
let me offset on my downswing. You know, like I just want to be able to offset all the time.
Yeah, it's great. It's great that they're listening to their community, and you know they're doing their best to like get like kind of round out the game the best of their ability. One thing I noticed in the patch notes, there was nothing in there for the charge blade, and you know, rightfully so, because you can't fix perfection. So other things to note, you know, it's great to see that they are still working hard to optimize PC. As of right now, Monster Hunter Wilds has a mixed review on Steam, no doubt due to optimization issues. So I'm glad to see that these issues are still being addressed and worked on. And yeah, like hopefully, you know, like we get it to a place where it runs fine and we'll no longer have to report on PC issues in like coming titles or future updates and stuff like that, but that remains to be seen.
Yeah.
It's not fixed until it's fixed.
Yeah.
Until we see it fixed. Yeah, I hate to be the pessimist, but in I don't know about you, Max and Pat, but in the time I played with the update, it
not me
still run.
I was literally just gonna say it's great to hear that they did that, but when I booted it up last night, it was running at like 28 frames per second. I was like, what happened?
No. Real bad. It doesn't feel any better.
But I did say it's great that they addressed it. Not that they fixed it.
That is actually fixed. Yeah, unfortunately, we're probably not going to see any significant changes until the master rank expansion comes out, if any.
What do you think? What do you think the new semicolon title is going to be? We had Monster Hunter World Iceborne.
Yeah.
Then we got Sunbreak.
Monster Hunter Furry.
Sunbreak.
I don't know.
Don't know to follow up on that.
Yeah, because of the wild part, right?
Got it.
It's like monsters and animals and.
Oh, Fury.
Fury, got it.
Fury. Yes. That's what I said.
Yes.
Your accent came through.
Oh, my bad. Sorry, I didn't mean to confuse anybody there.
You got a lot of people really excited there for a second, Ryan.
What? Small minority of listeners, yeah.
Some fans. And a couple other comments I was just going to mention. So it seems like from some testing, the elemental damage for those elemental shots actually hasn't changed. It's just the tick rate or the tick count per hit, as you were saying, Max. I think it went down by 1, but the damage values for each hit is the same. So I guess they just meant that you get less damage because of that tick rate decrease. Looks like normal ammo got about a 10% bonus. Spread got a massive like 25% damage bonus.
Got a good spread.
Recoil on it, that good spread. But the recoil on it is still gnarly, and we still don't have a recoil down skill. So
yeah,
honestly, nothing's changing. Pierce is still fantastic. It just doesn't build your special gauge as fast.
God, man,
honestly, nothing's changing.
We need some stuff for spread.
I did notice that there was a very informative Reddit post that I wish I could link, talking about somebody did a very detailed before and after breakdown of like the different motion values for different hammer attacks pre and post patch, and it seems like for the most part it's just like a 15 to 20-ish% on average increase, but then there's like randomly like the second hit of like the down bonk does like 100% more damage.
Whoa.
There are some attacks that are significantly better, so people were reporting that they're using like the Rathian Arena Quest as like their benchmark for hammer efficacy, and it seems like it's quite a bit better.
Excited.
So I'm curious to try it out.
Yeah, I'll be playing around more with the Gunlands changes as well for the next episode. So, given some quick feedback of what I've seen, it's looking like they're trying to bring wide shells, or maybe have this normal and long shelling in line with how good wide is. So, I will be sure to share my thoughts on that next time.
And Ryan's gonna trade in his greatsword for a hammer now.
Never.
Moving
Maybe
on
in the
to
free
our
expansion.
Oh, jeez. Moving on to our third story. Monster Hunter Wilds developer detail May 28th version 1.011 update. Yes, I know that it is further in the future, but sue me. I try to do this podcast when I can. This news is brought to you by Vicky Blake over there at IGN. Monster Hunter Wilds director Yuya Takuda has revealed what's coming up in the May 28th version 1.011 update, including an abundance of new features and changes to the game, including a collaboration with Street Fighter 6. In his latest director's letter, Takuda said the team wanted, quote, to provide more great content for you to enjoy, as well as to make various adjustments to make Monster Hunter Wilds even more fun to play, end quote, including new challenger Street Fighter's Akuma. You'll get a full, it says Arkuma here, you'll get a full Akuma armor set as well as layered armor. And whenever you have either set equipped, 3 items will be added to your item bar. Assisted Combo Akuma, Drive Impact, and Go Hadouken. You can find out more about them on the official Monster Hunter website. We're also getting 8-star challenging monsters in version 1.011. The Gormagala, Raydao, Uthduna, New Udra, and Jindahad will become available to hunt at HR 41 and higher. This will give players options for hunting 8-star tempered monsters other than the Arkveld, although they will still be available to hunt at a 7-star difficulty. The 8-star versions, however, will be more resilient with increased health, wound resistance, and, quote, tweaks to multiplayer scaling. Takuda warns that Tempered Gormagala is a particularly tough challenge to even the best of hunters. You can expect higher difficulty quests and quests with multiple monsters to pop up more often too, as your HR increases. A slew of player-centric balance adjustments are also on the way in both version 1.011 and title update 2. The hammer, hunting horn, gun lance, light bow gun, and all those other ones that we mentioned before in the previous story are getting some buffs. Quote, while some weapons have had certain parameters adjusted downward, other parameters have been adjusted upwards, and viewed in totality, I think you will find that all weapon types have had their possibilities expanded. So I encourage you to give them a try for yourself once the update is out, Takuda said, adding that the hammer and dual blades are additionally receiving various improvements. In the rest of the article, they mentioned some quality of life tweaks such as resting in the Grand Hub and Suja. Countdown timers now display at the 10-minute mark, stability improvements, and you are now able to view individual endemic life you captured, just to name a few. For the full list, go ahead and head on over to IGN.com and give them the click. So, have we tried any of the new version update?
I have heard that the new Tempered Gormagala 8-star is a menace.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Somebody on Reddit was saying that the 8-star Gormagala solo has like 30-something thousand HP, which is like apparently more than the solo Master Rank Electrion in Monster Hunter World.
Oh wow.
Wow.
And it takes a long time to kill, apparently. On top of being very punishing.
One mistake and you're out. Huh?
So we're gonna quit the podcast right now and we're just gonna hop into it now, right?
Let's prove
If we
it.
start now at 11:23, we'll be done by 12.
I do like any addition though that tries to make the end game more diverse in terms of like decoration farming or something, because as of right now, or as of before the patch, the only monsters that gave optimal rewards for decorations were like the 8-star monsters, which is like Arkveld, Mizutsune, and I think Zoshia.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's kind of annoying if you had to just fight those 3 same monsters over and over and over, just for the best reward pool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which is not very ideal. And so, I mean, there's a whole bunch of monsters that just you never get to fight. Anything to make that sort of end game grind more bearable is a positive by me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. I want to be struggling. I want to, maybe that's just like the messed up part of me, but I want to see just like, maybe I need better armor, make me change my loadout or my set or my strategy to fight this thing, because I feel otherwise it's just, we bring whatever we want into the hunt and things die in like 8 or 9 minutes.
I feel like the tempered right now was maybe the first time that we were all like, first time in wilds that all of us were like, let's try to get the A rank. Everyone bring X amount of traps. Like, don't bring shock traps. Like,
It was the first
that's
time we
not
all
gonna
prepped.
work.
Yeah, that's a good mention.
I mean,
We
it's
only-
specifically because we were trying to hit the time.
That's true.
Right. But I'm saying, like, if the difficulty is being ratcheted up, we're finally now getting to that part of Monster Hunter that we as old heads are missing. That it's like your loadout matters, your equipment matters, your the traps that you're bringing. You're really kind of splitting hairs, and so that's some of the most rewarding stuff. Is when you're like, I was playing Helldivers the other day, and I was playing on 7s and 8s, and I was like, this is fun. And then my psycho friend was like, let's do a 10. And it was like, by the skin of our teeth, we were winning. I mean, we had 0 reinforcements left. I mean, we were like extracting with 20 seconds left, and that's where the game comes alive. So Monster Hunter Wilds is the same. It's like when you really are pressed to do or die and like really focus up, that's when the game is the most memorable, in my opinion. So, when we have these super challenging tempered monsters, especially because they were sold to us as like the penultimate beasts, and then we got to them and we're like, oh, they're hard.
But hard in terms of this game was just a couple more minutes than what we usually kill it at.
It's an 8-minute clear instead of a 5-minute clear.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, you definitely bring up a good point that, like, I think we kind of have danced around it, but, like half of the battle in older titles was prep time. Making sure you got your kit right and all that stuff. Like I said, before I was the first to cart, I was the pack mule for anyone who wanted shots, like, taken for them and stuff like that. I mean, you guys paid it back for all the life powders and stuff you gave me while I was falling to my death. So yeah, like prep time, like being focused on the fight, how you want to interact with the fight and make it play out the way that you want it before you get in the actual arena and stuff like that, is just as important as what you do inside the actual hunt. So yeah,
being proficient at your weapon is one thing, for sure, but it's not all of it.
Yeah, it's half the battle. So like, if this is actually living up to what they're saying and this is true, then yeah, I feel like this is a really big update for us as, like, just us as hunters. Like, this Palibros group, like, I think we're gonna love to be able to play something that's more challenging, that makes us utilize everything in our toolkit and our skill set to actually, play. And maybe that will make more people enjoy this, like, update as well.
Yeah,
I will say that I think that of the group of us, I think I'm the one that's probably engaged with the arena challenge quests the most. I feel like the challenge that we're looking for has existed in Monster Hunter Wild in the form of these arena quests, but it's just the nature of the challenge is different.
Like a time,
because the arena quests are like very challenging.
Yeah.
In terms of the level of optimization, in terms of like, you need to know the weapon like the back of your hand, you need to know the monster, you have like a limited skill set, and like the threat in Monster Hunter Wilds like isn't losing. It's not like carding and triple carding as much. It's like trying to narrow down and optimize and get like the perfect hunt. Like, I think that's just as hard probably as it's ever been. It's just like there is not as much threat of like just getting one shot by some laser beam from across the map.
I guess the difference is, one, in terms of Monster Hunter Wilds and arena quests, then the difficulty is more closely resembles that of like a speed hunt, than
Yeah, it's an artificial difficulty, sort of.
Yeah. That makes total sense.
Personally, I'm looking for more difficulty, but I don't want it in the form of the arenas. So I appreciate you mentioning that it's there all along, but I don't want it. Get those vegetables off my plate. I want steak.
Certainly, it's a different kind of challenge, but I mean, like, because we're looking to sort of be challenged in a sense. We're like, oh man, this monster is so threatening, and there's always the impending one shot, where the Gormagala does the 180 flip and dunks on you, and you die from 90% health. That's sort of the challenge that we're looking for. But certainly, like, if you're doing the Doshiguma arena quest, the challenge is not like staying alive. The challenge is having the perfect hunt and shaving the time down. And so, I mean, it's kind of, I'm glad that we're reaching a point where we're getting the option of like both different kinds of challenge.
Sure.
Because I personally prefer, I don't love the arena quests. I'm growing to like them more.
Yeah.
But I would personally rather, have my own comfortable build and sort of shave the time down.
It's giving you a different way to approach hunts. It's definitely what, I mean, with the lack of like actual like challenge in the story and stuff like that. So I've tried that too with the Tempered Raidao. And so it was like, I was trying to shave my time down. I think I only had an hour to play, but within that hour time limit, like, I was like, how do I optimize it the best way that I can, and how can I make it so that I can like lock this monster down to keep it in that area like we did when we all were playing together, but how can I do that solo? And so and I'm like, Ryan, you would be proud I'm actually using the environment that time and then hunt. So like, just trying to
yeah, okay, that's a whole nother episode on its own. Jesus Christ.
Just Ryan just yelling and scolding us.
I'm proud of you. I am proud.
Japanese fan just keeps smacking us. But yeah, so like, I think you do bring up a good point that the arena quests do give that type of challenge, although it is a separate type of challenge that we were kind of looking for. But not to say that Monster Hunter Wilds isn't hard. It's just the type of challenge that you're looking for relegated to the arena quest.
Well, I'm glad that we have options for different kinds of challenges in the game now.
Yeah.
I just feel like it almost, which is why I think it's interesting you're saying you're learning to love it, because I'm sure I could learn to love it too. But I'm like, it doesn't quite hit all the marks. But like, it's not to say that like I don't solo hunt sometimes, or like I'm also not trying to beat a monster quickly. Like, I don't want to spend 50 minutes solo hunting a freaking Arch-Tempered Raidao or whatever. I can do it. I think the first time I did it solo dolo was like 30 minutes. It's like, okay, well now I know it. I could probably get out of 20. So it's like all of the pieces are there. But for me, like, I don't know, something about like limiting my gear and like doing it solo, like all these things are like not my perfect, not like what draws me to Monster Hunter. Like, I'd rather do it as a group. I'd rather be patient and calculated. So like you have to be relentless and like hit and like always be attacking and like never miss a attack. Like, isn't as fun for me. And the Shaguma A rank eluded me before the Arch-Tempered Raidao A rank, and so I think that was a pretty glaring example for me personally that I'm like, arenas are for me. And especially with this new update with the Akuma, like, you have to do some arena quest solo. It's just like reminded me that I don't like arena stuff.
I mean, it makes sense. It's the opposite of what you're talking about with Helldivers, where you said with Helldivers you want to feel like you're getting through by the skin of your teeth, and like, when you finish the perfect arena quest, you're not thinking like, oh man, we barely got through that. The perfect arena quest is like, oh, that poor Doshiguma didn't even get to move.
Yeah, to me, I mean, and Pat and Brian, please chime in, but like, to me, the perfect hunt is not like, we beat it in 2 minutes and we just absolutely destroyed this thing. It's like, this thing is absolutely destroying us. I'm almost out of potions, and we only have one cart left, and like, we're really, really barely getting through the life pool of this tempered gore, and we somehow eke out the win. That to me is the most satisfying possible thing. It's like insurmountable odds.
Yeah, it's like the Soulsborne formula, right? You're fighting some monster boss that takes 10-15 tries, and then the satisfaction you get for completing it is just hard to compare. And it felt like Monster Hunter used to be like that in the past, where fight I mean, I remember I probably was just really bad at the game, but fighting Rathlos 20 times until I finally beat it, and you're like, ah. Whereas now it's like you fight a new monster, you're like, cool, looks sweet, nice cutscene, and you're like, oh, killed it in 10 minutes anyways, right? We don't really get that moment of insurmountable odds with each fight. It just kind of is pretty easy throughout.
Yeah. I mean, we thought we were going to get it with Arch-Tempered Raydal. I think we altogether hunted it maybe 3 or 4 times before we went back to doing whatever we're doing. But I think Max brings up a great point that like it's different strokes for different folks, and I'm glad. I too am glad that we're getting the option of, you know, having a more challenging fight where we survive by the skin of our teeth, and we also have that option to
well, and Akuma feels a little bit different as an arena quest too, because it's like a
speaking of how
beat 'em up.
Who has played the Akuma mission, and how did we like it? Max?
I mean, mixed feelings. I did it a couple times. I got a bunch of tickets from it, and it feels very close to something that I would really like. Like, I like the novelty of it, but at the same time, the implementation feels a little janky to me. Like the whole concept of it is very cool. And in terms of as a crossover, I like how much of Akuma's moveset they've incorporated from Street Fighter 6. Like, if you're somebody who's into Street Fighter, this is like very cool in the way that it's been implemented. Like, they have drive impact, they have all of, you know, Akuma's special moves, you know, he's got the it's all there, but it just feels like the fact that it's tied to the items that you have to use from your item bar, and then like the drive impact is a separate item, so you need to make like a custom scroll wheel loadout to access it to swap between quickly. Like, and there's a level of jank there that's a little bit hard for me to get over. Like, I really want to like it because it's cool, but it feels just janky enough that like it's not super fun to me. Like, I don't see myself using it a lot outside of the event.
Brian, have you played any of it?
I tried it for a little bit just before we started recording, and I agree with what Max said. The fact that you kind of really have to rely on some hotkeys, especially on keyboard, I could see that being helpful, using the number keys to swap between the different items. I almost kind of want to see it as a new weapon class. Like,
it kind of
quarters,
it's a
like
pseudo
it could be its
kind
own
of
thing.
is.
It's good.
Yeah.
There's a really popular Reddit post from a couple years ago where someone made a 14th weapon, and it was like power fists, and they did this whole
that was my nickname in high school.
art design. You'll have to overlay it for the podcast, Pat. But it's just like, it is just really, really well thought out. And as soon as the Akuma thing dropped, people reposted it, and people are like,
yeah,
Capcom, please give us this weapon, dude. Just give us big old chunky fists to beat up on monsters. I want it.
Hulk
Give
smash
them the anchor
hands.
arms.
Anchor arms.
Well, it was like a dual, you know, like thing where it's like as you do damage, it charges up these vials, and then once you do your like move, it like breaks, and you have to recharge them up. It's really well thought out. Like, the person who did it originally is just.
Oh, I love charging some files.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And
I wonder when they are going to put in a new. I wonder when they are going to put in.
This could be it.
How many years has it been now since they've
hand to hand?
The newest weapon to join was Insect Glaive, right?
And Charge Blade.
Yeah.
Charge Blade, was it both at the same time?
Was it World?
Or
Ultimate, yeah.
Brought both.
Those were the 2 new ones, right?
not even for Ultimate? That was in just 4, right?
Four,
yeah.
That's like
4.
10 plus. How many years ago is that now?
A lot.
I don't know.
It was pre-kids for me.
Yeah.
And
but,
then
yeah.
going back to Akuma, like, can we just all appreciate how nice the hit lag feels on those hits too? Like, it's super noticeable. Each hit, each punch, each kick, like,
Oh, super
I want to see
crunchy too.
more of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to see more of that and all the other weapons. I'm like, this is the hit lag we used to enjoy from other weapons, but now it's converted to him. That's
yeah,
cool.
definitely.
I'll put my 2 cents in as someone who's not a Street Fighter guy. It didn't do anything for me. But there was no oh shit moment like when I saw him in the oil well basin. You know, like, I'm sure there was many people going like, this is so sick. Patrick, I'm sure you're one of them. But then when I finally got my hands on his moveset and then like actually had to use him, I'm like, I don't think I'm doing this right. And then obviously like the shuffling between like equipping items was like a little janky. I think we all got used to it, and I finally kind of got into a rhythm and I understood it. And so then it didn't feel so bad, but I just don't see myself really using this. Like I did the missions, and I'm just like, all right, well, probably never gonna do this again. You know,
Yeah.
like I don't see myself equipping his moveset through the rest of because I'm assuming they're gonna take it away in a couple of weeks, and you're not just gonna be able to punch a Rathalos to death forever.
It's gonna stay
You're
around.
gonna stay,
I
yeah.
don't know about
You get a
You
new
wear the armor.
Yeah, as long as
Yeah.
you unlock all the armor doing the arena
Mhm.
quests, it's gonna give you
interesting.
those items to do your moves as Akuma.
Huh, that's cool.
So it is
Look, I
essentially
mean-
like the pseudo new or new weapon.
14th weapon.
Yeah.
13.5. I mean, that's cool. I love that. I agree with Max. I love that they're doing this. It just doesn't do anything for me. Like, it's like I'm just not a fighting game person. Like, you know, Marvel vs. Capcom is like the last fighting game that I played. Smash is like probably the only fighting game that I actually care about. But like Pat, you're like, I don't challenge you on fighting games. Like, it's just not gonna happen.
What about
You will
Sifu?
wipe the floor
Sifu is
with me a little bit.
Sifu is the greatest fighting game, right?
Right.
I
mean,
What's the clip where it's like, you know, like the dad is like the son's challenging to some game, and he's just like, "You about to learn today," and it's like, you know, it's like been memed to death, where it's like always like a different game on the screen,
Like, oh
like, you know,
shit, it's your ass.
yeah, or whatever it is, yeah. So like that's how I feel about you in fighting games. Like I will never challenge Pat to a fighting game. And I'm just gonna get fucking whooped. But
I think
you know, for me,
begrudgingly play Smash at my house. Like whenever
Oh,
Smash is
yeah.
around,
I
you're
mean,
like,
look,
oh,
I
I'll
don't-
play Smash.
I won't totally get destroyed, but like I'm not good, you know, compared to you. Like I'm not a fucking total scrub. I'm not like running off the map on accident, but like I can't hold a candle. So anyways, this whole Akuma thing is like, I think it's cool. I'm really happy for the people who are excited by it, but like, you know, as someone who's like not a fighting game person, you know, I was a little frustrated by the arena quests, especially because I was just saying how I don't like arena quests. And I've gotten several chances to learn to love it, and I haven't found that yet.
Mhm.
So, you know, as someone has no skin in this game, it doesn't do anything for me. I'm not going to wear the Akuma skin. I might grind up the tickets just for the sake of completion stuff, but like, I don't know. It's not something I'm like. If you give me the fucking power gauntlets that this random guy posted about years ago, sure, I might try that out. But like, as a crossover, it's not doing it for me. Especially because you have to equip it. Like, I don't know. It just feels kind of clunky.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, for just to cycle back, Monster Hunter 4 came out in 2013, so it's been like almost 12 years since we got new weapons.
Right.
But that aside, I as somebody who spends more time than is probably necessary on Reddit, it seems like the general consensus is pretty mixed, at least going into the event quest.
Mm.
I mean, I know Street Fighter has pretty overwhelming popularity in Japan, but I feel like the fighting game community outside of Japan for Street Fighter is not as large. And there's a lot of people who play Monster Hunter that have no connection really with Street Fighter. And so for those people, a lot of them are expressing that it feels like kind of a nothing burger event where it's like,
Yeah.
it's a promotional thing, really. It's like, hey, go buy Street Fighter and buy these DLC costumes.
Yeah. I mean, that's pretty much the move, right? They
Yeah,
want to
who
bring
would
awareness to other
have
titles.
bought those
You know.
costumes?
Yeah.
Who would have
I'm-
bought the costumes, Patrick?
Look, first off, of course I'm gonna fucking buy Chun-Li. Of course. Come on, she's the first lady of video games. Second of all, only gooners are gonna fucking buy the Cammy one. All right. There's two reasons why they would buy that one. All right. So I just want to make that clear. Only
No
gooners buy the fucking Cammy one. Now, did I buy that? That's a different topic. Let's move on.
It came in a package deal. It was a bundle.
But yeah, I'm really glad you guys went first, because now it gives me my 2 minutes to absolutely gush over this fucking update. Like, when I was like, man, I'm gonna have to go on to the show and not be able to speak on like the update and stuff like that. Luckily, we had like an hour before we started recording today, and I was like, okay, I get to do the Akuma quest. Walked in, like, it was a little annoying because I didn't unlock area, was it 11 and 5 prior, so I was like, where the fuck is this shit on my map to go like talk to people? Did the thing, found like the stuff, and I think this is the only cutscene I paid attention to for the entirety of Monster Hunter Wilds. They were like,
Not to who?
literally, they're like, it's so fucking cool. You talk to, I don't even know her name, but you're in the oil well basin, and she goes, yeah, there's been rumblings of like monsters being like beaten to death with just like bare fists. And I'm like, what the fuck do you mean? Like, who does that? Not us, because we're not fucking crazy. And so then you go search, you do actual like hunting, and like you're like, okay, what the hell's going on here? Oh, there's a dead Gypsaros on the wall. Oh, there's a dead Raytheon in her fucking nest. So like, what is happening? And then, okay, let's go turn the corner. There's a fucking guy just staring at a wall. Like, what is wrong with this fucking monster, dude? You
That
walk
was a
to
pretty
him,
funny cutscene.
and he's like, just I mean, this is exactly how a fucking conversation would go with Akuma. He's literally just still talking about like seeing the abyss and fucking like, dude, I'm just trying to get directions to the nearest 7-Eleven. You're like, what are you talking about? And he fucking raging demons you for being weak. And I'm like, this makes absolutely no sense to anyone else but fighting game players, and I fucking adore this. I was flipping my shit. This is so cool. And I was like, okay, I got like 10 more minutes. Let me throw up the arena quest before we do the recording. Threw up the arena quest. They give you a little tutorial. I know there's a lot of mixed feelings about having his moveset relegated to items, but also like it gives you another option to, like, if you just want the Akuma skin just as it's a skin and you could use your weapon, that's great. It is very weird to have a secondary / tertiary weapon attached to items. That being said, the actual implementation of the moveset is fucking amazing to me. I thought it was implemented so well in terms of how it actually works. So you have combo, let's see here, what is it called? It's like combo assist is like one item. Go Hadouken is his fireball, and then you get drive impact, which is that like Japanese calligraphy style, like strong hit. Basically, it's a focus attack, right? For the wound system. The way I was like, when I saw the trailer, I was like, how are they doing combo strings from Street Fighter 6? Like, these are actual dedicated combo strings that you could do in the game. And he's doing it without a weapon. Like, that's no taunt like setup, or you know how Kazuya was implemented in Smash Ultimate. Like some of his movesets is relegated to the taunt button. So it's like, how are they doing this? When I finally got the hands on the sticks, it was like, okay, so you can mash like square, and that does your light attacks. You can mash triangle, and that does your medium attacks, just like in Street Fighter 6. And then you could mash circle, which is heavy attacks. And I was like, okay, is that it? Like, you can only do square, square, square for a combo, triangle, triangle, triangle for a combo, and circle, etc. And surprisingly, no, you can fucking mix it up. You can do square, square, triangle, and like, you can literally make your own fucking combos off of this and then cancel into actual special moves. And I'm like, this is, as a person who's playing Monster Hunter right now, this is breaking my brain, because this is so fucking Street Fighter that it's awesome. And like, seeing the trailer and then actually playing it and seeing how it's implemented, this is gonna be my new main weapon, honestly. Like, I loved playing the Instant Glaive for the time being, but now that we have fucking Akuma, he has
been dethroned.
It's been Instant Glaive
I
is
heard
done.
people are
Dude.
getting some good damage on it too. Like,
It's
people are cheesing fights with it. Like, so it's actually
insane.
viable.
It is. I did the arena quest, my first try, in like 9 or 10 minutes. I think A rank is under 5, of course. I'm going to get that. I love the properties of some of his special moves. So you get like blunt damage for his Tatsu, which is the hurricane kick. So when I hit the Jerrican in the face with his Tatsu, it straight up knocked him out. And then you can fucking do Raging Demon, which is like the most... This is like what Akuma's known for, right? This is the most anime-ass super of all time. And you do that as like you target the wound, hit your focus, and then hit R1, and then you fucking raging demon a monster. Like, how fucking sick is that? And to me, I did it like 12 times throughout the course of the fight, and it never got old. Like, I don't think it's ever gonna get old for me. I'm so juiced about this update. This is like, I'm more juiced now that I've played it than I was for the trailer. I was like, oh, Akuma, that's cool. Like, we've had Street Fighter before in Monster Hunter World. We had literally Akuma in Rise. So like, yeah, that's great and stuff like that. Like, he did the moves and stuff. Monster Hunter World was a little bit more relegated to, like, you know, taunts and stuff like that. You could do a fireball here and there, but it was nothing implemented like this. Like, this is like Sakurai levels of like, hey, let's show people we care about this fucking character. Like, this is our character. This is our team's character. Yeah, he's being implemented in another game, but let's fucking make it feel like the game as close as we can within the mechanics of Monster Hunter. And I fucking adore this. This is one, like, I cannot wait for more Capcom crossovers, because when Devil May Cry hits, boy, oh shit, it's on.
We're gonna get a gun when the RE5 crossover comes over, when the RE4 crossover
Leon's
comes
gonna
over.
fucking suplex a Rajang or something. Like, can you imagine?
Just gonna shoot him in the head with an RPG.
It's, yes, Chris is gonna punch boulders and it's gonna make sense. Like, it's fucking awesome. Also, I thought of a challenge. This one's gonna be a solo one for me. I'm gonna fucking do the Rajang Arena quest with a fight stick.
Oh my goodness.
I'm gonna
can be
fucking do
done.
it. I know you can't fucking move camera or something like that. I don't give a shit. I'm going to do this shit because it's gonna be fucking awesome. Like, I'm so excited about this. This has gotten more excited than the Arch-Tempered right now, to be honest. Like, this is awesome.
The Kuma quest,
By
the
way,
Coomer
look-
quest.
Looks
He's gonna
good.
go casually Misatsu a Chatakabra or something. I don't know what's gonna happen to all the longsword mains if there's a Devil May Cry collab and you can play as Virgil or something. Like,
You know
all the
what?
longsword mains, their heads are just gonna explode.
I went
Like,
back to some of the trailers for the collabs from like World and stuff, and I'm so fucking mad I didn't pay more attention to it. Like, at the time, I don't know what was going on at the time, but they were doing it was Dante in World, and I was like, wait, what weapon is he using? And I was using the fucking charge blade, and I was like, shit, this looks cool as fuck. And now I'm thinking about reinstalling World just to get all
Just to
that
try
stuff.
it. You missed out.
But yeah, other than that, the Chun-Li outfit was a must. Yes, I did get Cammy for as much shit as I gave Gooners. Did get the Blanca Chan.
I mean, you're a Alma main, so
I am an Alma main. I'm a main her all night.
I will say that I kind of wish that Capcom reached out across the aisle a little bit more in terms of collab stuff. Like, there used to be all sorts of collabs that they would do, and like recently, starting with World, it's been more just like, let's just grab from other Capcom properties, and like, that's cool. But like, 4 Ultimate had a collab with like Super Metroid,
Yeah.
and there was collabs where like all sorts of stuff in the older games, and it's like, it would be kind of nice if they expanded out a little bit more.
Do you think with the popularity of Wilds that's a possibility to come back to?
I mean,
I want to play as a Helldiver.
I think it's certainly possible. Whether they want to is another story. Like, for the last multiple games, it's all been, you know, the Rise is basically like, oh, they had Okami, and
Oh, I fucking love that
you know,
one.
it's like, those are cool, but like, it's been much more self-contained. And I know that, you know, once you start trying to cross over with Nintendo or other stuff, you know, that's a whole can of worms. But as a fan, you know, the more cool collabs we have, the better it is for me. But
Yeah, definitely.
I'm just happy to get more content, pretty much no matter what it is.
Same.
Yeah, I think that's a big deal here, right? We didn't think much with this trailer and thinking what they would do with this collaboration without them. I personally thought it was just going to be another skin, so that for them to actually have developed, you know, what feels like almost like a new weapon in a way was really cool.
Yeah.
So I hope to see more content like that with their collaborations.
Of course, if you hear that sound, it means we're all readied up for the topic of the show. And today's topic comes from our last news story. Monster Hunter Wilds has lost players far, far faster than Monster Hunter World. This news comes by way of Sam Woods over at thegamer.com, and it goes as follows. Monster Hunter Wilds is one of Capcom's most successful games ever. The game launched in a pretty broken state for PC players, and there were some characters that didn't go down too well. But it sold like hotcakes and became one of Steam's most played games of all time. Less than 3 months later, however, players are dropping like flies, seemingly at a rate that is far, far quicker than Monster Hunter World ever lost them. Initially, it looked like Monster Hunter Wilds players were sticking with the game for longer than World. A higher percentage of them hit Hunter Rank 100, and more of them hunted 100 large monsters. That could have been a false dawn, though. According to SteamDB, yesterday on May 19th, Monster Hunter Wilds peaked at 41,101 players, a 97% drop from its launch week peak of 1.4 million. In the 7 years since its release, Monster Hunter World has never lost more than 92% of its launch week peak, and the game has still managed highs of over 26,000 as of yesterday. There are a couple of things to consider here, though. This number only takes into account one of the 3 major platforms that Monster Hunter Wilds launched on, and Monster Hunter Wilds' peak was far higher than World's. So it had further to fall, but it's still a really sharp drop. Sadly, things aren't much better for Capcom if we consider Monster Hunter Wilds' average player count either. In March, the game averaged 378,500 players. Over the last 30 days, it only managed to have an average of 53,842 players. This represents an 86% drop from its launch week peak. Looking at the game's Steam achievements once again, it does seem like Wilds is managing to captivate the hardcore players, with 36% now hitting Hunter Rank 100 and 50% hunting 100 large monsters, which is an increase on when we last checked. But a far higher percentage of players have dropped the game, suggesting something isn't right. There are likely a few reasons for this, and its 58% positive review score, a series low, is a good representation. Last month, Capcom was forced to release a statement regarding a growing number of cheaters in Wilds, and it also changed the way quest rewards worked because of this. Despite numerous title updates and hotfixes, many of the game's issues are also remained. So how does this news hit you guys? What are your first thoughts?
Well, I mean, we were talking, quite a bit over the last couple months or weeks, I guess, about how, is this game, kind of as successful as we think it is? Is it casting a wide net and catching new players? I don't remember the numbers. I hate to exaggerate here, but it feels like the initial sales numbers are crazy, to the point where it's like breaking records for Capcom, like unequivocally a success. And we were worried that it meant that they weren't going to patch the game because they learned the wrong lessons from a really successful game. But them not being able to retain players is concerning. I mean, I think we are not playing it as frequently as we were on launch. Obviously, that's going to happen, but it feels like they've done a pretty good trickle of content, and they've been really open about what's coming up next to kind of get us hyped for what's coming down the road, and give us ideas of okay, we should all hop back on in a couple weeks when this drops or whatever. The Capcom thing crossover with Akuma doesn't do much for me, but I'm liking all the arch tempered stuff, and I don't know, it just feels very it's going to happen eventually. You're going to get the core people just eventually sticking it out, and all the casual fans who played the story mode kind of fall off. And so I think we're in that right now. It's a little bit crazy to hear that Monster Hunter Worlds had a much better retention. I don't really know what to attribute that to, but because this was out the gates more successful, but we're also talking about success in the way that it's a cross-platform release this time, which is the first time they've ever done that. So even though we were kind of glazing the numbers a little bit on release, Max and you guys as well were talking about, well, that's not telling the whole story because Monster Hunter Worlds didn't release all at once.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, Max.
I think there's a number of things to consider in this. Like one being the continuing technical issues, probably in terms of player retention, is something where a lot of people may have bought the game and then started and be like, whoa, this doesn't really run well enough for my taste, and stop playing. I personally know multiple people that had bought the game at launch and just said, this doesn't run well enough for me. Like, I'm going to wait for performance improvements or until I build my next computer, maybe way down the line. And they didn't feel like it was even worth sticking with it because the performance issues were such a big sticking point for them.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing is kind of another topic that we had brought up, or we intended to bring up, was that there's been a bit kind of a topic recently around popular streamers, Shroud and Maximilian Dude. They recently have been talking about the concept of friction in games and like, what is the acceptable level of friction? Where if you think like, what is friction in terms of a game? It's like, if you think about your pathway of progression, like progressing forward being like on tracks, like how smooth should that journey be? How much friction should there be in the tracks? If there's too much friction, like the car is not moving at all and it doesn't feel like you're progressing, it's not satisfying. If there's no friction, then you just rocket down the tracks and reach your destination instantly, and there's no real blockers or challenge for you to get there. And I feel like, Maximilian Dude has talked about how he does not think there's enough friction in the game, where it's so easy to get what you want, to craft everything. There's not enough blockers on the way to get you there, that people sort of blow through everything the game has to offer and then kind of hang it up for a month or two, and there's not as much to sort of keep you grinding. Like I remember in some of the old games, I remember fighting like the Dire Murialis and 3 Ultimate specifically, and it's like I never got the freaking gem that I was going for. This was like before there was even in like World, they had this system where there were the tickets that you could get, where it's like some sort of countermeasure where if RNG was just not in your favor at all, then you had some sort of countermeasure where like, okay, you fought this like 20 times and you've done the weeklies, let's just let you trade in for a gem or something. I remember fighting things so many times to get the parts that I need, and it's like it's just a non-factor in this. Like you get a guaranteed gem if you just reset the map a couple times or search for SOS quests, and you're guaranteed to find somebody that's fighting the monster that you need, that has the parts that you need, like instantly. And so, I mean, if we're talking about player retention, then I think that's potentially a pretty significant factor in that people feel like they've gotten everything they want to craft. There isn't enough challenge or anything in the game pushing them to craft other things. People craft their one set and their one paralysis weapon and then it's like, well, the game isn't really asking me to do it to make anything other than that, so they feel like they've sort of plateaued, and it's like, well, I got what I needed, so I'm gonna call it here. And
I'm gonna let that last comment slide.
I didn't peek. Yeah, that's where it's difficult, right? Because with game development, and I know they want to make this game as accessible as possible to get the most amount of new players playing, but without that friction, people play it for, a lot of people get into it, and a lot of people play it, but after 3 or 4 weeks, they're just like, okay, cool, well, yeah, I've done it all. And you kind of lose out on the potential for people to stay. There's not enough incentive or reason to want to keep progressing, because you kind of sped through it within such a short window of time. It's kind of how I feel. I don't feel like there's much I need to do at this point. I'm waiting on just new monsters and new things to try, and that can take weeks at times.
I mean, I've certainly played games on the other end of the spectrum. Like, I know Path of Exile is a popular game that came out somewhat recently that is a game that a lot of people would say has too much friction, where it's so hard to get what you want. Like, it would be the Monster Hunter equivalent of like, you fight a Zoshia and you get 2 scales in the rewards, and that's it.
Shit.
And it's like, you do that, and fight the Zoshia 25, 30 times, hours and hours, and you don't get like anything, and then you reach a point where you're like, fuck this game. This game doesn't respect my time as a player, and you just want to go do something else that feels rewarding. So it's like, it's kind of a tricky balance, because
I would almost-
it very easily becomes something where, you want to feel rewarded and you want to feel like, the time that you're putting in, like you're getting some progress out of. And it can be a tricky balance.
It's the analogy of like having the carrot on the stick, right? Like how far do you let that carrot down so that you just feel like you're able to reach it, but not having it so low that you're literally just like eating it like without any issue, right? Go ahead, Ryan. Sorry to cut you off.
Oh no, I think that like this might be a hot take, but I would almost say that Wilds doesn't respect our time either. It's like it's almost too easy. It's not something that I really felt initially, but as time has ticked on, it's like, yeah, man, it kind of sucks that we have 12, gems for every single monster, only having fought them like 15 times. It's like the lucky tickets, you want to like give you something good, but those feel almost useless. And like going back to what Max was talking about like, friction, filing down the game's friction to the point that, that like it's accessible is good. But I think maybe in hindsight, this game took it too far. We basically were able to craft every set of armor. I mean, to the point that like Max with like 100 hours in this game is like, I'm on a mission to craft every hunting horn. And it's like, Max, where are you on that? Are you done? Because I'm pretty sure you are, right?
I'm not. There's like 2 or 3 like not useful hunting horns that I just never got around to grinding the tickets for. But
right, but it was like what? It was like the Chematrice or something. I mean, like I think the point I'm trying to make is that like we were given so many materials, and on paper that's good. It allows a huge amount of flexibility. It allows new hunters to like pivot on a dime to try new armor sets and new weapons, and that's great. But like if you know what you want, it's boring, because I'm not gonna craft all this other stuff. All of this stuff sitting in my box is wasting away. These scales are growing mold. I mean, it's just you can definitely optimize the fun out of the game, which is what the video that you're referencing, Max and Pat, like is what their main point was. It's like there's a part of like games where you want to struggle. I think we have talked about it earlier in the podcast and today, but also in other episodes, and it's something that I was even talking about with Helldivers. It's like you want, like, things are rewarding when you struggle for them. It's part of the reward center of your brain. It's like I did this, I made this, so
struggled for it.
There's
like, yeah,
right.
There's effort put into it.
Well, and like video games are escapism, so it's like it's struggling in real life kind of sucks, but struggling in a video game is kind of fun, right? Like like you don't like you kind of want to like fight the Zoshia 30 times before you can get its armor set. Maybe not 30, but
I mean, if you did fight it 30 times, that means they retained you for 30 plus fights, so
Yeah, I mean, it is retention, right? Well, it's like, well, here's an interesting thought, right? So, I've played Apex and Marvel Rivals a lot, and like, and a little bit apples to oranges. One's battle royale, one's not. But like, Apex, like, the matchmaking is pretty brutal, and every once in a while they'll give you a freebie, like just to kind of keep you on. It's like engagement based matchmaking. But Marvel Rivals, it's like, if you start to lose a little bit, just log off, because like, the matchmaking is not doing you any favors. Like they're throwing you to the wolves in order to like make someone else stay online, because you've already played a bunch of matches. So like they already know they got you. So, Monster Hunter is not the same with matchmaking, obviously, because it's not that type of game, but like the game is trying to like put you in a loop where you like are being retained. You're on the game and you're grinding out stuff. They want you to game as much. They want you to be on the game as much as possible. So you're buying skins and engaged in events and stuff. So Capcom wants you to be there, and it's the article that you're talking about, like, it says that they're kind of failing at that, and that's pretty interesting, because they're gonna get us for most major events just because of who we are. But I'm kind of surprised that it's fallen off a cliff so hard, because I don't know.
Yeah.
I think it comes down to like being too easy. Like I think the people who are who are not like diehards are like, all right, well, that's it. Bye.
I think that you can have a game that showers you in materials as much as this one does. There just has to be like an outlet for you to need to have that many materials and use those materials. Because as it is right now, like, you don't need to craft all this armor or all these weapons to use those materials on. Like, that's just the way that the game is balanced. Like, and that's kind of a controversial thing for them to do. I mean, you look at something like the Valhazak in Monster Hunter World, where that was a fight that pretty much required you to gem in certain skills to counteract like the effluvia. Like you needed to get the little effluvia resistance level 3, and then that would basically negate like the whole mechanic of the negative status effects that would be so crippling otherwise.
And if you're an idiot like me, I didn't gem in that at all, and I can tell you from firsthand that shit sucked. I hated fighting the Valhazak.
But I mean, like, that's the kind of point, that's the way that that's how you encourage people, where it's like, you know, there should be reasons why, where it's like, oh man, that Rathian poison does so much damage, I gotta go craft this armor to get poison resistance.
Like I literally
the defensive skills and counterplay just like doesn't really exist.
Yeah,
so
I literally started with paralysis from the beginning of Wilds, and I am still in paralysis. I may have switched weapons, but it's still running paralysis. So it's like I had no choice to, like, there was no reason for me to find other avenues of playing the game other than, you know, I want to make my own challenges. Knock knock, here's fucking Monster Hunter roguelike. You know, you say we have all these things set in our bag that none of us are touching. That was immediately one of the first things I thought of. Okay, how can we play this game so that it makes us try to use all those things all over again and give us that kind of challenge, which I'm actually excited to do maybe next episode. There are a couple of thoughts initially from reading this article. They did mention that there are a couple things to consider, like the fact that this was, I mean, for me, this was only taken from one source of like player count, right? SteamDB. So taking that into account, yeah, the drop off sounds huge and stuff like that, but how many other people were playing on console? Also, PC being I don't want to say this out loud. PC being probably the worst place to play this, like, is not optimized. So yeah, like, you're automatically going to lose those people that wanted to try this out, and then, you know what, it's not for me because it's not running well. I'll just wait till they patch it, or until the big update comes, or until I build another PC. So like, automatically those numbers are like conflated. So there's things like that to consider in terms of just the straight up number drop off. In terms of like retention and stuff like that, due to like systems and mechanics and stuff, you know, that Shroud and Maximilian dude reaction video of just like talking about you know, the friction of like, friction is what is fun in the game. Whether how much friction there is or how much fun you have depends on how much friction there is. If it is completely frictionless, if it's completely smooth, there's no like challenge. You get what we have now,
it's also
which
relative.
is, yeah, it is relative,
I think.
Yeah, but for the most part, like, I think the general consensus has been, and I tried not to be a part of it from the beginning, but now it's like clear as day, like, this game is way too fucking easy. It really is. Like, we've had no issue getting to where we need to get. We've gotten every single thing that we needed, that we wanted to make, to the point that we were trying to make new games out of it to enjoy the game more while we wait for the updates to come. Them telling us that they have bigger challenge, like, the point that they make every single update is, okay, there's challenging monsters coming. Whereas, you know, like, even in a game like World, I think we played for a longer time without feeling this kind of fatigue, because like, yeah, it was stuck to high rank as well before they had like G rank, right? It's the same amount of steps that we're getting to harder monsters, but I don't think we felt this fatigue this early on in World at all. You know, there were still systems in play that made us reach for the carrot a little bit longer and made us like play the game. So yeah, like, it's just, is sort of a balance issue of just like how do you keep the game fun for everyone without fun and challenging enough so that people want to stay and play the game, as opposed to like, yeah, everyone bought the game because they love Monster Hunter and stuff like that, and they got all their things, but now you're in this like room where everyone seems to be falling off or not being to play your game anymore because there's nothing else to do. Another thought just popped into my head: was this drop off destined to happen in the current landscape of video games? You know, there's so many great video games coming out every single day, from indies to AAA. Like, I could literally tell you 4 games on my radar that are out, or like they have something going on right now that I'm like, I want to play this over Monster Hunter. You know, so like,
I guess it depends when Monster Hunter Worlds came out. It's hard to compare without, so far apart.
Yeah, but I'm just like in this day and age, like Monster Hunter is, I don't know if you would say it is a live service. If it isn't a live service
2018
game,
is the answer. I mean, 2018 had some good live service. I mean, live service is like definitely that's an interesting thought. Live service is definitely like a thing now. So many games have pivoted away from like the one and done, like like a yearly release. Like people are supporting their games. I mean, Rocket League has been doing it for 10, 15 years. Like they were ahead of the curve, but like people are just now catching up to that. Like, stop trying to release a new Call of Duty every year. Like, let's just make one and just sell it into oblivion and like sell skins.
Yeah, and my thought on the whole live service thing is there are so many live service, like really big live service games in place that are like end game type stuff where these games have their communities that are always going to come back to them. Think Fortnite, think Call of Duty and stuff like that.
Max is about to finish up recording and go on to his Marvel dailies, so
yeah. And so like
I haven't in like 4 or 5 days. I'm slacking.
No. So like like how do you like pull someone away from games like that when you automatically, like, you don't have anything to keep them in your ecosystem? You know, like it's hard to like keep people in your ecosystem when they already have their Fortnites, they already have their Call of Duties, they have these games that they could go back to that still gives them the challenge of whatever it is going on in that game that they're not getting over here. You know,
so what you're saying is Monster Hunter needs a battle pass with daily login quests.
There we go.
I mean, it kind of that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying
that's the tried and true method for player retention.
I mean, technically there are things to do that you'll get like items and stuff throughout the week. There's weeklies and stuff like that. That's why it's hard to kind of say that this is a live service as opposed to, because this is kind of how the game has been, even taking out the live service aspect of it. Like, prior to all the live service stuff, the older titles, you would have to fucking play the game until you got the items, right? To make whatever you needed. It's just now they tie it in with, okay, do all these types of quests and then you'll get your hard armor sphere at the end if you complete all that. So instead of just like getting them from your quest that you're hunting or whatever. So I don't know if it's apples and oranges or stuff like that, but I just thought it was an interesting thought to be like, to think that, you know, would this have happened either way in today's gaming climate?
It certainly would have declined. Like, pretty much every game has a pretty steep drop after its launch window when people start shifting to other games or other new stuff. But I mean, like, if you think about us, like, if we had sort of fresh content, or like we were like, oh, we need to craft all this new armor or new weapons, the new monsters, like if that was happening regularly, like would we still be sort of falling to the wayside in terms of our playtime, like, or would we still be logging in every night if we still were sort of excited about new content?
Counterpoint to that is like Capcom could have easily withheld 30% of the content from the game and trickle fed it to us. I mean, there was a lot of like OG armor that ended up in the final game that I feel like they could have like had on a weekly thing. It's like, oh, get like the original Hope armor or whatever, or like get the original whatever. And I don't know. I think that
they could have like put a battle pass with the Death Stench armor or something, or one of those Nata armors.
That's what I'm saying. Like, yeah, like you said, I don't think so was your immediate reaction, but like I think that they were pretty generous. Like, not so much so that like it was like an obvious fumble that they like could have, you know, done a battle pass out of it, which I don't want, to be clear.
Yeah,
but there was
same.
enough retro stuff. There was enough homage to like old armor sets and like older like weapons and stuff that they probably could have sold that to us for $1 amount. And I'm glad it was in the base game. So
So I will say that when you started saying cutting 30% of content, my mind immediately went to like cutting monsters from the base game, which is like, I feel like we're already in a position where there's like not enough to fight.
yeah,
And
that's not what I meant. That's not what I meant.
Well, right. So in terms of selling the content to us, like as somebody who paid like 100, 120 or however much it was for the ultimate pass, like I already feel like I'm getting nickel and dimed looking at the store, like because it comes.
But as someone
with,
who
like,
didn't, I don't really feel like
I know, but like it comes with like the cosmetic season pass. I'm the owner of the cosmetic season pass, and like.
And you stunt on us all the time.
Now,
yeah, it's fine.
No, like multiple months now, it's like drop after drop of stuff that is not included in the season pass. And it already feels like there's like a ton of, you know, $1,
yeah, that doesn't feel great.
$4,
Yeah.
and it's like.
Let me ask you this though: if you were the owner of the season, you are the owner of the whatever season pass, right? If you got those included, would that still keep you playing to this day? Like with what they're
Probably
offering,
not.
Exactly. So I don't think it's.
I
I don't think it's a
really care about
monetary issue.
stickers that much, to be honest.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think it's a monetary issue. I don't think it's a. I don't think it's a content issue. I think it's. I think it boils down to the system mechanics of the game, like straight down to how you get what you need to get, and the actual playability, like the actual mechanics of how you play the game. Because you could take out all the monetization, all like get the battle pass stuff out here. Like that's not what I was saying, but I know you're just throwing it in there. But like let's just say, let's go back to your example. You fight a Gravios. You not to the extent that you every fight you only get like 2 scales, but let's say 80% of the time you get scales. 70% of the time you get like a fucking, I don't know what else does Gravios drop, like a chin rock or something, and you need that one chin rock. This is where we're playing with the carrot and the stick of how high it should be, of like, okay, how many times can we get this person to come back to play this hunt to get the reward that they need? And I think without any money, that kind of what is it called, that kind of like avenue of like, hey, you need to kind of play this. If you want this armor piece, then you have to fight this until you get that. That has been tried and true for me personally since Freedom Unite. Like what kept me playing and understanding like and playing that game was the carrot on the stick of shit, I need to get this gem. It
used to feel so good to get those
it was a 2% drop
hits, man.
and you're like, fuck, it's 2%. We've fought this thing maybe all day, but all day compared to a month later and you're not playing the game is like, okay, that is a short amount of time, right? That's one day versus a whole month. Now say like it took you maybe 3 days to get that piece. Then you're on for 3 days. Oh, I need another gem from another monster to get this mix set piece. And so on and so forth. None of that has to do with battle passes. None of that has to do with monetization. It is just simply the game mechanics and the game systems to keep you in there, just purely based off gameplay. And I think that's the answer personally for me.
I think one thing that comes to mind is like, basically the crux of the argument is that we need more places to spend materials.
Yeah.
And I know like right
Send
now
them to the DSS, dude.
Right now, the place to dump materials in the game is to trade them for hard armor spheres, which is like a trash conversion rate because it's like you're trading like 10 gems and you get like 3 armor spheres or something. It's like it's a really garbage conversion rate. But
or the
I honestly like, yeah, honestly, I think one thing that matters to a lot of people, myself included, is fashion hunting. And maybe it would be like separating the unlock for the layered armor into like a separate craft that costs a lot more materials. Because as of right now, like when you craft a piece of armor, like you automatically unlock the layered armor equivalent. And that would be something where it's like, oh, if you want the layered armor, maybe you need to craft each other piece separately and it costs more materials. So you have like a reason to go get more gems or something so that you can look cool.
Yeah, I mean, that doesn't seem...
I have an idea too. Tempered monsters should have way lower drop rates. So if you're looking for the hunt equivalent of a fuck you, then you should get the drop rate fuck you also. Like you should be able to, you know, struggle for your materials as well. So if you're hunting the tempered Gormagala, you're not going to get a gem. Like you're going to get that like 1% drop rate for the gem.
I personally feel like that's kind of like there's already too little reason to fight the tempered monsters, though. Like
but I feel like it's a self-imposed thing. Like if we're spinning a wheel to hunt something with low rank armor and using a weapon that we don't already like as a way of entertaining ourselves, then like what's the difference of like doing shittier drop rates on harder monsters? It's like you're engaging with this because you're sweaty.
I kind of agree, but not to the extent of like a 1% drop. Like
no. I'm exaggerating to make a point. I'm trying to say that like if you want the experience of like really having to eke out a victory and eke out all the materials, I know it probably doesn't feel good to like really bust your ass and then get nothing for it, even less than normal. But I'm just saying, like, if you're trying to create like the only way to like keep the casual fan engaged with like the drop rates that you have established from the beginning of this game, you can't go back now, is to maybe possibly tie the harder monsters with worse drop rates. It's a self-imposed limit.
I feel like rather than just being self-imposed, like there should be a reason for you to want to hunt everything. Like there's a lot of these like extra monsters that don't really feel all that rewarding to fight, to be honest. Like you're either fighting for Arshan parts, which is just like RNG whatever, it doesn't feel great if you're just fighting the same thing over, because it's like, oh, I need to get the Arshan weapon with 4 attack and 1 sharpness or whatever. That doesn't feel great to grind for. Or it's decoration farming, which doesn't necessarily feel great to farm for if you're fighting tempered Arkfield for the 1000th time. Yeah. And I mean, I kind of appreciate that, you know, they're adding more monsters to that pool that gives the good rewards. But, you know, you think about like Generations Ultimate, like you have to fight the hyper monsters. Like one of the best armor sets is like, I still think back in terror to having to fight the Hyper Devil Joe in G rank, which is like a freaking menace. And you have to fight it if you want to. You have to engage with the hyper monster on a craft to armor. Like there's reasons to engage with all this level of content. You know, the casual person is going to see like the end game of like, do I care about Arshan weapon grind? Do I care about decoration grind? Like, why do I need better decorations? I already kill everything in like 9 minutes. Right. Like none of that matters to people. Like that's the only reason why you fight the tempered versions. Like if you nerf the drop rates of the tempered versions, then like who cares? Because you can already fight the normal versions, which are even easier for all the parts that you need for all the armor and all the weapons.
Right, like, but it's not about parts. It's about the guy. It's like the guy who posted, it was like, you know, had HR like 100 and had done all the high rank stuff. He's like, oh shit, I just realized high rank armor exists. It's about creating false difficulty because the game doesn't provide it itself. And they've already established the ease of the game. So you can't rug pull the casuals.
I don't know. I just feel like it's a no-win. Like, I've never been as big of a fan of, like, in a perfect world, you can be like, oh, you could just not wear armor and the game's all of a sudden really hard. It's like, there's all sorts of ways that you can sort of artificially inflate or have self-imposed difficulty, and I feel like ultimately that's just kind of like a game design failure if you can't accommodate. I mean, I guess you can't accommodate everyone, but
Yeah.
We're relying on mods.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's just weird that we're in this position talking about this early on into the newest title, Monster Hunter Wilds. But yeah, I would love to know if if our audience is having similar issues, or like how they're enjoying Monster Hunter Wilds, if they're still enjoying Monster Hunter Wilds, if you guys are onto different games now. Yeah, go ahead and leave us that in the comments below. And thank you guys so much for watching. That brings us to the end of this episode of the Palibros. Before we go, really quick, any other things that we want to let the audience know that we're doing, playing, looking forward to, movies, shows? I think Brian's looking forward to bed.
Bed, yeah. Bed. But also
rematch. Oh fuck!
I've seen Bed.
Yeah.
I want Legaia Chris. I hope it's soon.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Title update
So, yeah,
2.
there's an update.
Let's fucking
let's
go. Yeah, looking forward to that. Definitely rematch. I've been playing some Splitgate. Splitgate 2 beta is from now until launch, so loving the hell out of that. So much fun. Of course, you can catch my streams over at CrabBeePatty at twitch.tv. The link will be in the description below. Other than that, beat Doom Eternal finally. It was time.
Nice.
Doom Dark Ages came out, and I'm like, okay, I can't just keep this in the back burner anymore. It has to end. I love the game so much I didn't want to end. That's why I didn't do it. And now finally played it on Ultra Nightmare, or on whatever, just Nightmare, whatever. It was great. Loved it. Didn't want it to end, but there's that. Yeah. And yeah.
Switch 2 next week.
Switch 2. We're literally on the eve of Switch 2.
Yeah.
Did you guys... Who's getting a Switch 2 out of all 4 of us? I know me, Brian, not Max. Ryan, did you...
I decided against it for now.
Okay. Yeah.
There's just not enough games on launch that I'm like super interested in.
Yeah.
Mario Kart and like the Donkey Kong game are like the 2 that I'm interested in.
Yeah. And Donkey Kong's not even launch day, so...
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. Brian, did you get a release date yet?
I also know that
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Ryan.
I know they iterate a lot, so like I'm kind of thinking like a year from now I'll pick up like the OLED Switch 2, where like the launch hardware is always a little bit sketchy, so I'm not totally opposed to like being on the second wave.
Well, yeah, we'll be the test subjects for you.
Yeah.
But did you get a confirmation yet for you're picking up, right, Brian?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I went to Best Buy in the Bay Area, or in the South Bay here, that I'm going to be going to, and I was calling. This is a funny story. I would call the Best Buy's kind of virtual sales and like, hey, is this store in in Mountain View participating in the early midnight release? And they're like, no. And then other people are saying, yeah, online.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
I went to the store today, and I was like, let me talk to a manager. And they're like, oh, yeah, no, we're doing the early launch. Okay. We'll open at 9 p.m. Pacific. So I got confirmation. I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to be there on Wednesday.
Did you take off work the next day?
No, but I'm hoping I can,
unofficially, allegedly.
I feel a little sick.
Yeah. Hopefully, none of the people where I work with watch this.
Yeah, I'm still looking for the confirmation from actual Nintendo on my emails, but hopefully that gets there soon. I picked standard shipping. I wonder if I would get it delivered day and date. I'm not sure. It should, right? But
yeah.
But standard is like 3 to 9 business days, so I hope it's not coming 9 days after launch. But if If not, I'll get more time with Akuma. But Brian, Max, and Ryan, I want to thank you guys again for coming out for another episode of the show. And of course, I want to thank you guys for watching this episode of the Palibros. Don't forget, if you enjoyed this episode and want to keep up with us, you can hit that subscribe button on YouTube, or you can follow us on Spotify and a variety of other podcast services. Please give us a good rating to help us out with the algorithm and discoverability. Again, thank you so much for watching. We had fun making this show, and we hope you enjoyed it. And until next time, happy hunting.